My experience with survival guilt goes all the way back to 2008 when I came home from my first deployment. During that deployment, we lost a lot of soldiers killed in action. We also had so many people hurt badly in that conflict. And I came home and I was whole. Not only was I alive, but I was very healthy. And it just seemed like I was protected in all ways. And I never had a thought in my mind that I would take my own life. And I'm sorry to say, but I had soldiers who did take their lives and just had no other way to deal with their guilt and deal with their trauma other than taking that massive action. And I've talked about that in the past, and this video isn't for those stories, but I did have extreme thoughts of survival guilt. And just to give you a quick idea of what that feels like is when you're wondering, well, why was my life spared? Why didn't I lose my legs or lose an extremity during this conflict? Why was I never hurt, never shot, never damaged in a bad way? When you have questions like that, you are experiencing survival guilt, and it's powerful. When you have a hard time thinking of why you should be here on this earth, why you should take your life and use it in a beautiful way when so many other people are going through trauma, it's very disruptive and it's a powerful feeling. And so you don't wanna live in that guilt. That isn't a place to live, and you can find yourself in a depressed state very quickly if you stay there long enough. Thank God I had Kristen. Thank God I had support to move through that. But I caught myself again with these central Austin flooding events, feeling that same guilt. And it happened in 2 different ways. One, I had already sent my kids to camps, overnight camps by water. I mean, very similar situation as these children who lost their lives and families that were severely disrupted. It was 3 or 4 days after the event occurred, and someone had prompted me with I can't even remember the actual comment, but it made me think like, "Why am I not out there?" God's given me a skill set to not only be able to move through the woods quicker than most people because of my training, and I have a skill set of being able to treat trauma. If I were to find a victim that was wounded in a bad way, I could treat them and prevent shock and maybe and help them survive. And not only that, I'm physically capable, so I could carry a lot of weight a long distance. And so I've got these skills and I've got these gifts that it is possible that I could have gone and had a really positive impact. I mean, I'll never know because I didn't do it. And at first it was guilt, and at first it was remorse, but I know that wasn't of God, right? And so I knew that there was something more for me to take from that. And that's where I reached back into my experience in life, back to when I came home from Baghdad to say, okay, how did I get through this guilt the first time? And I wrote myself a little model, and this is what I want to share with you all. And I hope that and I pray that this impacts you all. Not only if you are actually experiencing the guilt that we as a family were having because of these recent events, but also just in your life as a leader to be able to help you be more steady for your folks and create more safety. And not only for you to be that as a leader, but to teach them so that their lives can move through tragedy more effectively. And so here's the model. I think of it as in the Bible, they talk about building a foundation on rock. You can build the foundation of your life on sand and it will sit fine. But when tragedy strikes, a foundation built on sand will crumble. Your house will fall. And so if your life, the house, is built on a foundation that's on rock, tragedy will strike your life and you will be more effective in moving through that tragedy than not. And it doesn't mean that it's not going to hurt. Doesn't mean that there's not gonna be pain and that you're gonna struggle, and it may take a long time to move through it, but you won't crumble, and you'll have a solid foundation to build again from, and that's the key. And so I thought, "Okay, well, if I need a foundation for my life built on rock, what are the components of that I believe gave me the ability to build the foundation on rock?" And it came down to 2 core things. I mean, we could go on a list rant forever, but there were 2 core things that really came to me. And the first thing was beliefs, and the second thing was relationships. And so first, if I just start with the beliefs, for me, the first belief, and these are Schuyler's beliefs. I think I could have stopped the video right here at there's 2 things that make your foundation solid, beliefs and relationships, and you can run with that. And when tragedy strikes, you're able to move through it. But here are my beliefs that my God is in control. And it doesn't matter what things look like. It doesn't matter how much chaos it seems we're having in this world. I believe that my God is in control. I believe in everlasting life. I believe that those that are closest to me are going to experience everlasting life. And if God already owns my spirit, I will be with the people, my loved ones that I've lost another time. This life on this world is such a short kind of vapor in the whole scheme of time. And I believe in that. And I know that, I will be with my loved ones again. And then the last thing on the belief side is that love conquers all. I believe in the power of love. I believe our God is love. And I know that God will conquer all and love will conquer all. And that love conquers all belief is why relationships are so important. Relationships are where you experience love the most. And every relationship requires time and attention for it to be a strong relationship. And if my number one relationship is God, well, there's two ways to strengthen that through time, and that's through the spoken word and it's through the written word. So I do receive the word in two ways, and I do it on a daily basis so that the relationship is very strong, and I get to experience the love from that relationship. But I also have relationships with my folks at church, my community at church. I have relationships with my mentors. I have relationships with my family and my friends and my coworkers. All of those relationships connect me with the love that I know conquers all and that will help me create a solid foundation. And that model has helped me move beyond that survivor guilt in the moment. Now, look, I'm not the type of person that just says, oh, well, thank you for that little nugget. I'll move on. I've continued to chew on this experience and these feelings that I had to say, okay, well, what's the next step? I've got this model, and I'm grateful that I was reminded of a model that I've already used in the past. And I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to share that with you all so that maybe you can move through tragedy in a more effective way. But it made me also think that there's this concept of the second mile kindness. And if I were to explain that to you, just using my own life, it would be that, hey, listen, everybody would say I'm a good guy. I will go out of my way to help you. I will do that first mile for you. I'm very good at taking the first mile. What I realized is I wasn't taking the second mile for many people. And I believe that Schuyler is a good guy, is in the first mile, but people will see Jesus in the second mile. And let me just give you an example for these recent floods. And the reason why I think I felt this so strongly, this message. The first mile act of kindness was the donations that Kristen and I did financially for this opportunity. A second mile act of kindness is if I would have went out there and did exactly what I talked about. The reason why I was feeling guilty, that I didn't use the skills and the talents that I have and the gifts that I have to go out and make an impact. And if I would have done that, then this video here with you all would have been a different type of video. I'd be teaching you how to go after the second mile kindness through a way that I actually did it, but I didn't. And, part of this journey is just sharing with you all not only how to be a steady leader, but I don't have the perfection either. I'm looking for progress, and I do believe in living in the gain. I hope that this blesses you. So to recap it and kind of give you a challenge, first, I start to build your foundation on rock. What are those beliefs that you have to solidify and actually commit to so that your beliefs give you that foundation on rock? And where is that love in your relationships that you need to spend more time and develop and kind of give it the attention it needs? Focus on those relationships and beliefs. And then second, can you be a person that goes the second mile to not only just be a good guy, to go show people Jesus in the way that you go the second mile to help people? If you can do that, I know you'll be a steady leader alongside me, and I know you'll make great progress in this world. And so I'd love to hear how you feel about this. Obviously, we want to hear from you guys. So go down in the show notes and engage with us more. Tell us what you want to see. Share this content, and any comments you have, I'd love to see them.